Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing, Dad?
Very well, Steve. Thank you. Yes,
Good.
I've been busy again, as you
You
know.
really have. This week you really have been busy.
I
You've
have.
been sending me picture after picture after picture of my WhatsApp has been going off because you've been sending me so many pictures of work you've been doing.
Well, they've been little quickies, really. They don't take me long. I think the longest it's taken me to do one was about half an hour, or maybe just a bit long. No, about half an hour, I think. Others have taken a little longer because what I've done, where you've got a volume of the same colour, I don't make people sit all through that because otherwise it's a bit boring. So I
Mm,
just started off and say I'm going to carry on with this. So although it would, when you edit it, it will be a short, very short video.
mm.
There is a little bit more work involved, but you can't avoid that. But nonetheless, really, they were still quickies for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to reveal those that you've been working on this week. As I think people are aware now, we started a sort of new short YouTube series where you're isolating a part of a picture that really looks good in its own right and is designed for people that just want to practice some techniques or have never picked up a pencil before, that can pick up a few pencils from the shop and put them down on paper and produce something that they think, wow, I didn't think I could do that. So this is a really nice little YouTube series. So we've released one already, which was the blue cat's eye, which has gone down really well. And we've got a few more that we're going to be showing today. But first, we must talk about the Robin picture that we showed last week. We showed a couple of stages of it, and this week we want to show the finished picture. So whilst I pull that up, Dad, just tell everyone how you felt about this picture.
I was thrilled to bits with it. When you see a picture um, like that, and it was very close to the original picture that I edited down to achieve that composition, I knew it was going to be a good one. And you can see that it is. Mainly, I think the branch is a little more. Normally, I would do just a branch and not spend a great deal of time on it. But this one took me quite a while to do it because I was adamant that I was going to make a good job of it. And when I saw the original photograph, I could see the appeal that it would be to me, and I'm sure to other people, because
Yeah,
it was such an attractive, almost unbelievable uh, photograph to capture that kind of composition I've got there. And I did leave a branch out from the bottom of the picture on the left-hand side. I left that out. That would have been over the top. But apart from that, it's as it was.
mm.
So,
But
no, I'm very pleased.
the effect of the bark that's stripped away off of the tree, I don't think I can't recall anyway seeing you
Yeah.
produce that kind of effect before. What challenges were there for you in making that look real?
Um, do you know, it wasn't as hard as for me as you would think. When you look at that, you think, oh, it must be almost impossible. But because I've been doing so many various kind of techniques with different subjects, you kind of, especially in the rock situation or the pebbles and when you've got things that need a bit of thinking about, I've always found that I can pull them off. And I was, even before I started this, I knew it was going to come out okay. But what I wasn't prepared for was how good it was. And when you
Mm,
see the video, is stunning, absolutely stunning. I mean, that's a good picture, but when you look at the video and you see it coming to life, it's quite remarkable. I think people are really going to enjoy this one.
mm. What I think is so appealing is the ready color on that tree, the stripped away bark. that what's left, the exposed tree, has got such a really nice, ready, realistic texture. It's a really appealing
Mm,
um, tone
mm.
and realistic tone. Down where the bark still
Yes, I know
is.
what I mean. Yes.
And is that partly down to shadow as well that you get that color? Um,
Well, yes, absolutely. But that's very true, as people will see when they do it side by side, because I do it side by side. I bring the original picture in so you can see that I'm actually copying the idea. I do change it slightly. I always do, the design of the bark. But basically, that's what you see. But to actually do it, what I find interesting is how I actually layered the original foundation colours in. Now, you could overdo this very easily. You could make it too detailed and over the top. So you've got to get it just right. And I also have a thought pattern when I'm doing anything like this: is if it works, leave it alone. Do you know, I mean, that's very important to remember. If it works, leave it. Don't keep going, because it's so easy to just keep going and then you think, oh no, I don't like that. Or I think I'll rub that out. And that's the worst thing you can do on something like this. You start erasing it, because you smudge and you lose the spontaneity that's there when you're creating something like this.
hmm,
And I would emphasize this to people. I do on the videos. I say, leave it, get to a point where you think, that's working. And if it works, leave it. Don't keep going.
hmm,
I would say that that's really good advice, but one could look at that when you finish it and think, oh, I wish I'd done that. Well, the thing is, take that to the next picture. Don't go back on what you've done. Leave what you've done, because that would have satisfied you at that time. And then when you go to the next picture, remember it and think, oh, now I remember I should have done this. I think this is where you build up experience, Steve. You know, well, it's the way I do it anyway, and I'm sure other people would be the same. What I find quite interesting, I see an awful lot of pictures, as you know, and that other artists have done, and some of them are superb. I do find, though, I'm not being too critical, I hope, that they look a bit false. They look as though they've been molded. They're not real. Do you know what I mean? With the pastel pencil, particularly, it's has a knack of making it look natural, real. When you look at that robin, you think, I could be looking out my window and seeing that as it is. You know, you don't. There's no falseness about it. I hope
hmm.
very difficult to put this across, and I certainly wouldn't show pictures of other people's and say, "Well, this is what I mean." Brilliant though they've been, I just feel they lose that natural look or natural feel. Now, that is all to do with stopping when you get so far. Exactly what I've just been talking about. When you get so far, and the bark on that tree is exactly that, you get to a point where you think, that's working, leave it,
Yeah.
and don't keep going, because if you do, one of the things you can see on that, particularly, and I was quite impressed with myself being able to do it, is keep putting the dark colours in and making them look natural. There's one
Hmm,
point in time where certainly the upright branch next to the robin, when I got to a point there, I think, do you know, that's not quite working. I need a little bit more. And that's when I'm using the darker colours. 175, I think, I seem to remember that was the colour that I was using for that. And I kept just touching it, just touching, just a little bit more, add a little tiny bit more. That's it. I got it. You see what I mean? but you have to keep going. You have to keep
Yeah.
going at that point until you reach that point when you think, okay, that's it, done, and then you leave
Mm,
it.
I imagine that's everyone's own individual journeys with that willpower to stop.
Mm,
They feel like they've got just what they need.
mm,
Um, yeah, I imagine that is quite a tricky. Only time and experience can really give you that.
mm,
Um, what I really like about this one as well is the obvious light source and where that light is hitting the tree just below the robin's feet, and then also the shadow that it's casting on the bark that's peeled away
mm,
on the left hand side. I think that's such a lovely little area of interest.
mm.
Um, I just think that's so realistic. You could almost peel that bark off. You could feel
Exactly.
it, can't
That,
you?
that's the whole point. That's exactly what. That's the feeling I get when I'm doing it, and it's the feeling I think people will get when they look at it. And to be able to do that is quite remarkable. I think to be able to do that with the pencil, it's helped because we've got the grey pastel paper, the dark grey pastel paper. That helps enormously because in this particular instance, because I didn't have to work quite so hard in producing the dark colours on the tree. And I think when people see it, they'll see how quickly it's done, how quickly you can get that effect. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'd used say, the sand coloured ombre. Not, yeah, well, sand coloured ombre, I wouldn't be able to do it at all. But with the sand coloured pastel matte paper, I could have done it, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't have had that help. If you see what I mean, that backup colour. And what was amazing, I think, and of course the background as well, very little. I was talking about that last week, wasn't I? When I just the three colours, 176, 175, and black. Only those three colours. But if that had been sand colour, I'd have had to put a few more colours and repeated them as well to get that depth. But you don't have to with the dark grey pastel matte. So I mean, all these things go together and make it work for you, really.
It's so interesting to see this picture finished and to see a bit more behind the scenes of your process behind it and picking up on these little areas. Obviously, the robin itself looks fantastic as well. We had that last week pretty much finished, so I think we could see that already. The picture was really shaping up. This is fantastic. I know people were wondering, and this is obviously a class. So this has been filmed. So this will be up on the website. We'll just add it to the pile at the moment of classes that I'm working through, but it will come to the website. So you will be able to learn how to draw this and how to achieve these effects. I'm assuming that it's an advanced picture, Dad. Is that right?
Um, I'd like to think it was intermediate, but you're probably right. Simply because of the bark and the
Right.
tree. If it hadn't
Mm.
been for that, the robin would have been, and the dark grey pastel matte. People have done this before. The robin and the background, I think, would be fine. But what I would emphasize is people do it, try it, because if you don't try it, you're not going to. If you use all the materials I've used, colors I've used, and the paper that I've used, as long as you stick to that, you should get something like I've got there. I mean, obviously, there are techniques, and you have to be mindful that you've got to be careful because once you're using that dark color, if any of that dark color strays on to the bird, or worse still, on that exposed bark there, you had it. That would spoil the picture because
Mm.
you'd have to dab it off with a putty rubber or something. So you've got to be really careful. But
Mm.
yes, I would. I think it would be an advanced picture. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, it looks fantastic. As always, let us know what you think, everyone, of the picture and whether it's one that you're looking forward to. Um, I want to move on to the short, quick exercises that you've been working on. These aren't necessarily in order that you've completed this week. This is just how they've opened on my computer. So I'm going to flick through them now so we can see, and perhaps you could give us a few words and comments about each one, Dad. This is
Sure.
the first one. Are those all the pencils that you used in this little exercise?
Well, this was the last one I did actually. Here again, if we're talking about that background, people know that if I was doing this with pastel paper and I was use a lot more pencils, I would have ended up looking like the one above it, which is the actual picture. However,
Yeah,
I still think that we've managed to get the lightness and the colour with those 8 pencils. There's only yes, there's 8 to get that effect is quite
yeah,
good. I'm quite pleased with that.
and that's on the Engrais paper again as well, isn't it? These pictures are all on the Fabriano, so
All on grey.
you
Yep.
don't need to work so hard um, when you're trying to do these pictures to work a lot of color into the pastel mat and
Mm.
fill that texture up, which is so hard to do.
People
Um,
people will see the cotton buds there.
I was just about to zoom in on them. Yeah,
Well, you can see they've been used, can't you?
I can indeed. This is one tool that you used last time as well in the
Mm.
last
Oh, I've
cat.
used it in all the pictures you're going to see today. I've used cotton buds. Now, the interesting thing about these is that I've never used them before at all in any art. When I started, I never used cotton buds because I used paper blenders, before the color shapers came along. But I was very, very impressed with them. The only thing is you can't clean them.
A little bit of
Can't
a
clean,
waste.
no, you can't clean them.
Use them sparingly.
Yes, you've got to. Those 3 have unfortunately had to go into the bin, but they're quite cheap today. You can get them pretty reasonable now, especially if you don't want the Johnson's ones, which are quite expensive ones. Get the other ones because you don't need it. All you need is that little cotton ball at the end to blend. It will never take the place of the color shaper ever. But I've got to say that having used them for all these pictures, the 6 pictures I've done, I'm a bit impressed. And I might well have 1 or 2 in the wings when I'm doing a picture because it spreads the colour quite well.
Excellent. Wow, who knew, eh? Who knew? Excellent stuff. Let's move on to the next one. I particularly love this picture.
Hmm.
Um, I think yours is much better than the photograph that's come out there. I just think it's
Hmm.
a really nice little composition there.
Hmm.
Um, and again, how many is that? Is that 8 again pencils that you've used there?
That's right.
And I'm assuming this little
2p piece it is. UK,
2p
UK
coin,
piece.
was that your son?
That's my son. Well, you really can't get a round freehand picture. You just can't do it. You've got to use something like that, which is great. There's no drawing in this, no line drawing in this. I haven't given you one. I do it because if you think about how simple that was, once you put the sun in, and then you put the hills, you can see that they're not exactly the same as the picture.
Mm,
They didn't have to be
no,
as long as
yeah,
you put them in. And the tree, of course, again, that's not exactly the same, and neither is any of the other things, but the colours are. But I must admit, I like this one.
I
I think
really like it
it's nice.
too. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Um,
And
yeah,
you
nice to
know
see.
the tree, Steve. Now this is interesting. Um, we're using Engrais paper. When I put the background colour, which is the same colour as you see on the hills and the area behind the tree, you have to be very careful not to put too much colour in. Because if you did, you wouldn't be able to get the depth of the tree. So what I did there, I thought of this in advance. How am I going to do this? So what I did, I limited the amount of colour on there, and that was helping the colour. The cotton bud help there. You put that in, and you keep blending it, so you've very little pastel on that background. Sand coloured paper, so it's easy to colour it, and then you put the tree on. Now I've said in the past you can't really put green trees onto background, but this worked because I was using 165. Only 165. Now you look at the pencil range, you think, hang on, you've got a light green in there.
Mm.
That didn't go into the tree. That's the grass. I used the
Ah,
165, which is the third one along, I think, from the left, and 175, which is the one right at the end. Just those two colours. That
wow.
that was the tree. And I was very, very pleased because it looked, as you say, I think it looks even better than the tree that I'm
Yeah,
copying. And
yeah.
175 for the branches. So it
Just goes to show that you don't need many colours necessarily for a tree.
took a while, though. That took a while. I mean, this is one of those pictures that I say, now let me do a little bit and show you how it's done, and then leave it to me. And half an hour later, I come back and we'll do a little bit more. And half an hour, do a little bit more. That was the longest one I've done so far, simply because of the tree.
Mm.
But when you see how it's done, it's so simple.
Yeah, that's great. It's really good one. That one. Let's move on to the next one. It's another bird. This is a seagull. Is it a seagull? I don't know if this
It
is up
is. It
close. It
is a
looks like
seagull,
a
yeah.
seagull. Um, and yeah, again, you've simplified this. You've made this achievable, very realistic. With again,
8 pencils.
one, two, three, four, five. I can't count, 6, 7, 8, 9
Oh,
pencils.
it's a 9. It's a 9. Did I break my... Oh, Colin.
Slacking.
Yeah. But you can see why, because the beak and the eyes particularly. I mean, that
I mean, that
green,
eye looks quite tricky, actually. That there's a lot of detail in that eye, isn't there?
there is. There is. Yeah, there is. And but again, it's fun. It's fun to do, and limited colours. I mean, the beak had a number of those colours on there. I think most of them, in fact, were there. Uh, but in the past, I would have used a lot more colours if I was doing it properly.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
pleased. The idea was quick. It's a quick one. It didn't take me long.
Yeah, that's good. And again, it's sort of, it's just introducing people to these techniques,
Mm,
that or practicing them that maybe have that want just a quick practice session.
mm,
Excellent stuff. And this is the final one that we're going to show today. And this, I said to you, I couldn't stop looking at this one. Like this one blew me away. I'm kind of pleased that this is the last one that we're showing because this absolutely shocked me. Just how realistic you can get on Engrais
mm,
and your work on Engrais because you're so experienced with the paper. It just goes to show the level of depth and detail that
mm,
you can get. This again to me looks far better than the picture, the actual photograph.
mm. What?
It just is just so. I think this might be the next one I edit because I just want people to
Yes.
to 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 do this one. I know it's another cat's eye, but I just want people to see how this is done. I want to see how this is done.
Well, what was interesting thing about this one, I started with the grey. That's the 230. You can see that from the right. I started with that, having put the white in first. Obviously, you have to put the white in the eye, the light in the eye, and then you put the grey, the light grey in. And then I thought, okay, now we're going to put the green, which is 172. That's next to the 230 as you see it. And that green went in, and that was good. But I thought, hang on, I need a yellow. And on the video, because I've just watched it back, I say, "Oh dear, I left that out. I didn't put the yellow in." Actually, I did. It was there, but it had rolled off the camera. I couldn't see it, and I thought, "Oh, hang on, I'll just go and get the yellow." Oh, hang on, I've got one, and I brought it back. But that made the difference. That was the difference for when I put the yellow and a little bit of grey in there. But I
It's
think
excellent.
70, I think. No, it wasn't. It was 233. I
It's
think.
excellent.
Anyway,
It's
people will
it's
see.
it's excellent, and it's actually like quite a lot of like. I know you've put a fair few hairs in there, but it looks like there's more hairs in there. You
It's,
know, I know you've drawn, it's a fair few, but not like a ridiculous amount. But it looks like, especially when you're at a distance, it looks like
yes.
there's hundreds.
Well, I'll let people in the secret how I did that, if you like. It very simple. First of all, you've got the sand colored paper as usual, and I started off by using the 230, which you saw there, and I squiggled it like that, very tight. Instead of using a hair, I normally say work in the direction. Well, I couldn't there, could I? Look at the picture I'm
Yeah,
trying to copy. So I swiggled it like that, and I did that right across the area, obviously leaving out the dark below the eye that you see.
yeah,
Leaving all that out because I had to be put later on. And I went over there, and then I did it with the tooth. I think it was two. Was it 273? I can't remember. It was 273. What's it say? I think it's 273. Yes, it was.
273. There you
It
go.
was 273. That's right. That's right. That's what I was using. I think I used the white and the 273. I didn't use the light grey on this particularly. It looks like I did, but I
It
didn't.
does. Yeah,
It's the white and the 273 that, because again I was restricting so it was the white first of all, then the 273 on top, then I used the 175 sparingly to start with, and it
mm,
created what you can actually see there. If you took all the light and white hairs away, that's what you can see below it, like
wow.
a confusion, and
Now
then the sharp white over the top.
I can see here your cotton bud. This is very much used, and I want to ask you: is that this area here?
Oh yes, that's right. Well,
That is remarkable.
yeah,
That corner of the eye
yes,
that's generated that effect.
that's
What a
right.
great little blender.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, this is why I was quite impressed with it, to be honest. Anyway, I'm glad you like it, and I'm sure other people will too. Uh, and that is a beginner's picture. It's very,
Wow.
very simplistic.
If I produced that, having not really done much art before, I'd be blown away. I think I'd be so it wouldn't look as good as that. But if I'd produced something like anywhere near 10% of that, I'd be over the moon to do
Oh, good,
something like that. So I
good.
think that that's excellent. Um,
Well, I have got just into. I've got the whole picture of that, which I was going to do, or am going to do. So I think I might do that.
Properly, the full thing, pastel mat and all.
Yeah, Pastomat, yeah, the whole thing. So
Wow.
anyway, that will come later on.
Yeah. I really want people to let us know what they think of these exercises now and when they go up. And if you do practice them, if you do complete them, let us know. As always, we're producing these for you guys, and we want to get your feedback on which ones are your favorite, which ones you enjoyed, so that we can sort of craft another selection maybe down the line of similar kind of exercises for you guys to do that aren't full pictures. Well, they might turn into full pictures if they're as good as that cat's eye. But yeah, anyway, I hope that's really been interesting. I think it's been lovely to dissect so many varieties of your pictures this week. A slightly longer one, but I think that we've covered a lot, and I think it's really great. Now we probably will be back next week. If we're not next week, then everyone knows that it's because a baby has arrived. But it may well be not next week, but the week after. So we should be back next week. Let's make no promises. But obviously, I will let everyone know either via our newsletter or on Facebook. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, then go ahead and join up. If you just search for Colin Bradley School of Art students, or just Colin Bradley, probably will come up as our private group. And please join that, because I can post updates, let you all know what's happening and when a new episode is posted. So yeah, if you don't hear from us next week, we might have a couple of weeks break. Good stuff. All right, lovely. Thank you, Dad, for sharing your wisdom and your artwork with us, as always. We hope everyone's enjoyed this episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Enjoy your week.